It's Saturday evening. It's time to talk about the very best comic books in the entire world with our good friend Drew.
Hey, man, it's great to be back. Yeah, it's Saturday. Let's talk about the best comics in the universe, in the world today.
Well, let's talk about the best news. We got Comics Pro coming out. And the big news, at least for me, is Jeremy Adams has signed an exclusive deal with DC Comics. To my knowledge, this is the only the second exclusive deal that they have. They have one with Tom Taylor as well, starting out on The Flash, obviously moving over to Green Lantern, expanding out now with Aquaman. He's doing Flash Gordon outside of DC Comics. I think it does spell good things for DC Comics that they're recognizing talent that's interacting and connecting with their audience and getting them excited for comic books. And they might be making a concerted effort to really bring back quality to DC Comics as a brand.
This is the single best move DC has made and probably will make all year creatively. It's not Matt Fraction on Batman, which I'm still scratching my head about. It's not Tom Taylor. It's this news with Jeremy Adams. Jeremy Adams is the future of DC Comics. He represents the talented fan that the fans respect and will follow from project to project, regardless of the character. Jesus, he made Flash Gordon a badass character and a fun series again after 70 years. And he saved the entire Green Lantern franchise after the nuclear bomb level of damage Jeffrey Thorne did to it a couple years ago. He knows these characters and he knows what the fans and readers want to read because he's one of us.
It's interesting that you say that because I've noticed my fandom has changed, the way that I pick out and decide to read things. In the past, I would read the characters that I liked the most or the teams that I liked the most. But now I find myself following my favorite writers from title to title. And even if they're on a project that isn't really all that appealing to me, I will give that a chance just because I like the writer, because there is a very disparate level of quality going on there between creators. There isn't like a standard level. There's a lot of things that I would consider substandard. So I've definitely been following Jeremy Adams around, and I think pretty darn good chance that Marvel Comics was probably sniffing around him and seeing if there was any chance that maybe they could bring him over, because I think he would do some amazing things with Marvel Comics as well. It's good to see that good, talented people are finally being identified, because we do desperately need that new talent pool to kind of really revitalize interest in comic books. But I think a lot of people are doing that now as well, where they're following their favorite creators rather than their favorite characters anymore.
I agree. We all are. And I've said it multiple times on here, Wes. In a year or so, Jeremy Adams will be writing Batman or Superman or both. And at this point in his career, with what he's done on the other DC titles and his other indie work, he has earned it through hard work, critical success, and sale improvements. Wes, as fans and reviewers, we should be celebrating this because despite DC's best efforts, they managed to make one fantastic decision here. I wish I had known this at MegaCon, because I would have congratulated him personally, because Aaron and I ran into him quite a few times. He is such a great guy, such an incredibly nice guy, a humble guy, and it couldn't happen to a better guy or a writer in the industry today. And if you're not familiar with Jeremy Adams, get familiar with him now, because he is the future. He has earned it.
Hopefully, we're going to get a Jeremy Adams-led event soon, because that's what I would like to see. Some real good, solid leadership on an event that really gets people all eyes on DC and discovering these awesome heroes again. That's what they need.
Yeah, he can do it. He's shown it in his Green Lantern run when he had the that huge core-wide war several issues ago. He was able to tell that huge, massive event in only a handful of issues within Green Lantern. That shows me he does have the talent to handle something on a massive scale outside of just one series. So yeah, I cannot wait for what he's got for us in the future.
Absolutely. That was awesome news, and congratulations once again to Jeremy and his family. Well earned, sir. But we do have some comic books to recommend this week as well. Starting off with the indie books, we've got G.I. Joe #4, Josh Williamson writing, Tom Riley on art. We've got the Crimson Twins in full force, chasing down the Joes who are kind of split up, and they take another massive L in this issue. I love that Josh Williamson is really letting Duke and this newly formed G.I. Joe kind of task force fail a couple of times out of the gate, as they're just now realizing what an enormous threat this Cobra threat really is, combining the forces of Cobra Commander with Destro, with the Crimson Twins. They've got all these different things going on here. The one thing that I will mention is I do think the color art from Jordi Belair, this is the first issue, when it got a little too wonky and did detract just a tiny bit in a couple of action scenes from the visual storytelling. But otherwise, I think it's still really fantastic.
There's some, yeah, you said some questionable choices, but on the whole, it was okay. Not as solid as the previous issues. But this issue on the whole, it had so much energy with it. With the opening of the motorcycle chases to the fight to the discovery of the energy, it's very energetic and always moving, very kinetic. And what we get a shocking moment where Duke surrenders. What? E2 Duke? Or is this part of his plan? Does he have Cobra right where he wants them? You got to read to find out. The other fun factor here is Cobra. Josh Williamson is writing all the Cobra characters so well. They all have their own unique personalities, own unique voices, and I love these villains. I don't want anything to happen to them. I don't want them to lose or die. I'm kind of rooting for Cobra here. I'm having a blast with them. I love them all from Ripper to Cobra Commander, and the Joes are written so damn well too. I think Stalker right now is my favorite of the Joes he's writing. My point is that if there were one person to pick up the Joe franchise after Larry Hama, if Larry were to pass on or to quit, God forbid, it's Josh Williamson. He gets it and he's earned it. Tom Riley is doing a good job as well on the art. It fits the story, and I can't wait for the next issue. I love this cliffhanger. Strong recommend for G.I. Joe.
Man, Drew's like a sociopath or something like that, rooting for Cobra Commander.
You can't help it. They're like
group of mercenaries.
They are so much. It's like watching Pulp Fiction without Quentin Tarantino writes. Bear in mind, those characters are bad guys in Pulp Fiction, and these characters are the bad guys. I'm having fun reading these characters, and at the same time, it's like I don't almost want anything to happen to them because they're so fun. But yeah, I understand they're the bad guys. They got to get their comeuppance at some point.
We're gonna have to get him reading some more Superman and start identifying with heroes again. We're also going to recommend Space Ghost number 10, David Pepos writing, Jonathan Lau on art. We get a pretty good one and done transitory issue here where we have a mysterious advanced version of Space Ghost from the future called Space Spectre. Now, I did figure out quite quickly who this character was ultimately going to be, but something very, very bad happens not only to Space Ghost, but Jason, Jane, and Blip. In the not too distant future, if they don't do something different, trillions of people are gonna die, setting up some enormous stakes for the future of Space Ghost as they identify who this is, what it all kind of means. But by the end, they still don't know exactly what they have to do to kind of avoid these trillion people dying in the future. But I thought it was absolutely exhilarating stuff, and Jonathan Lau, once again, nails it.
Dream team of the future at DC Comics, Lau and Jeremy Adams on a book together on Batman. Boom. There we go. Take my money. But yeah, Space Ghost here, it continues to be one of the best indie books, if not one of the best books on the market right now. David Pepos is doing a fantastic job really fleshing out the character, fleshing out the world, the galaxy that Space Ghost is in. It's so much fun. And stories like these, they're very commonplace in comics. X-Men's done it. Animal Man at Vertigo did it. Just future iterations coming to meet the characters of the past, warning them of stuff that's going to happen. Yeah, it's fun. And they're kind of like little placeholder stories. But it's setting up, the future of the character in the series. And I cannot wait to see what happens next. And I can't wait to see, the situations that Space Ghost and the others get themselves in. Yeah, another strong recommend for Space Ghost.
Absolutely. If you're not reading Space Ghost, you're doing comic books wrong. Get right on that one. Another kind of pulpy throwback character that we're definitely recommending, Flash Gordon, number 6, Jeremy Adams writing, Will Conrad on art. I think technically this issue might have come out last week. There's been some issues with distribution with a lot of these smaller publishers, but this issue in particular, Flash Gordon, everything comes to a head. Flash Gordon has been helping out Ming the entire time, knowing that he was going to screw him over. And this is the coup de grace, the major league screw over on him, essentially trying to wipe him out and kill him. We get some really cool things going on there. And this enormous thing happening at the end, the first appearance, at least in this series, of the Hawkmen from the movie. And, obviously the old stories and stuff. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. There's a reason Jeremy Adams is in demand and DC had to sign him exclusive.
Yeah, I'm grinning from ear to ear because I'm picturing that last page, that splash page at the end. So I'm like, yes! And now it's like after seeing that, I want Jeremy to be on Hawkman after this. But yeah, it's this. He's, like I said in my opening statement about Jeremy, just he's able to take these pulp characters that have been around 60, 70, 80 years and able to bring new life and energy into them, into their worlds. And this issue was yet another fun and exciting chapter. Our heroes have escaped Ming's mercenaries on that horrible planet and have landed on Ming's secret stronghold. And surely surely Ming will continue to work with Flash and Zarkov and not backstab Flash, right? Right? Yeah, the characters are written so damn well here, and the pacing is so perfect. And I, as a storyteller, appreciate that Jeremy knows the art of the page turn. He's mastered it. He nails it. And like I said, at the very end of this, with the Hawkmen coming back, yes, give me more. Cannot wait for the next chapter. Jeremy's kicking ass, taking names. Flash Gordon, another strong recommend.
Flash Gordon has been just an enormous treat for comic book fans. Loving that series. Now let's move over to Marvel Comics, because we do have a couple books to recommend there. First up, Weapon X-Men #1, Joe Casey writing, Chris Cross on art. Love seeing Chris Cross come back. Putting Cable and Deadpool and Wolverine together, really the three big X-Men characters that can carry a solo series. It says it's a One World Under Doom tie-in, and it's definitely the first One World Under Doom anything I'm recommending. It's a loose tie-in. It's about one panel that ties into that event. Mostly, it's just hijinks and balls to the wall action, great pacing. There is one element about it that is a little bit too reminiscent about a couple of other books going on right now with Deadpool and Wolverine that I do think it makes it a little bit redundant, but I don't think that's Weapon X-Men or Joe Casey's fault. It's probably the editors at Marvel for allowing the same trope to happen over and over again. But outside of that, everything else about this is really fun. It's violent, it's bloody, and it's got just the right amount of humor to where it's not a goofy ha-ha book, but it has effective jokes.
Absolutely has effective jokes. It's action packed, very beautifully illustrated. And yeah, I do agree. I think the only thing where it ties into with One World Under Doom is that very last page. I think that's it. Other than that, yeah, it's its own thing. Yeah, this is the one book I was concerned about the most, because I had a lot of high expectations for this, and because Deadpool was in it. And as we all know, Wes, Deadpool has been written so awful recently that reading a series with him in the title could be unbearable. But Deadpool is written perfectly in this issue. It's just the right amount. And on top of that, we get John Proudstar, Thunderbird, back. The original pain in the ass that he is. I love it. And I think the last time we talked about him was probably a couple years ago when he donned that new Village People costume and killed all those cops in that police station. But here he's on the run fighting Wolverine, and it's gloriously illustrated by Chris Cross. And I got to say, Chris Cross has been drawing comics since I missed the bus, but this has been the most beautiful work of his career, in my opinion. These pages are beautiful. Naturally, our characters don't completely get along with one another at the end, with the reveal of someone who may be pulling a certain character's strings, but I can't wait for the next chapter. This is a lot of fun. Weapon X-Men, strong recommend.
Enjoy that quite a bit. Love seeing Chris Cross return, and certainly Joe Casey on Wolverine, Cable, Deadpool. You can't get any better than that. Also going to recommend Alien vs. Avengers #3, Jonathan Hickman writing, and Asad Ribic on art. This book kind of is coming out, I guess, bi-monthly. Maybe it's quarterly. I'm not really sure. Every time I forget that it's coming out, I get a new issue. And I remember why I like the story so much. This thing is so damn strange. It's weird in the most fun comic book way possible. It's not over the top trying to be the most intellectual book in the history of the world. It's like some of Jonathan Hickman's other books that kind of bring them down. This time they show up on Mars. They've escaped the Earth because there's all the xenomorphs there. Guess who's playing with the xenomorph facehuggers? Frickin' Mr. Sinister. Nobody in the world would ever think these things are beautiful but this guy. And he's doing some really crazy stuff. I see frickin' Wolverine with facehuggers. We got Colossus with facehuggers. We do have a resistance cell with, I think, Emma Frost. We've got Gateway in there. Armor's in there. Crazy stuff going on here. But all I've got to say about this, facehugger gun.
I want to know who created that. I want to know if that was Hickman. Was that Asad Ribic? Was that the editor? Because I got to give them an round of applause for that one, because that was a beautiful, beautiful call. And yeah, Mr. Sinister, I love the twist with him in this. And honestly, it makes sense for the character, like him experimenting with the xenomorphs, like the David character in the latter Ridley Scott films. Yeah, it was great seeing the X-Men back, Logan kicking butt, as well as Captain Marvel taking that alien spunk to the face like a champ. It was awesome. But it looks like we may have lost a hero and missed all the fighting. Who exactly? You got to read to find out. Yeah, so it's not exactly everything I wanted, but it really does feel like they're holding back on the horror and gore, which I didn't really appreciate in a horror franchise. I want to see more of that. I want to see more of a body count, but hopefully we get more of that. Asad Ribic, he does a great job here. And it's great seeing John Hickman show a little testosterone here, since we're not really getting it in Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah, this is a recommend for Alien vs. Avengers #3. Yeah, I really hope it's coming out more frequently, but I'll take it when we can get it.
If I had guessed what this was going to be, I never would in a million years would have ever come anywhere near what he's actually doing. And I definitely appreciate that. He's thinking outside the box and doing something that is just absolutely bonkers. We've got one comic book to recommend at DC Comics, and I think Drew is going to yell at me for this one. The New Gods, number 3, Ram V writing, Riccardo Federici, Evan Cagle on art. The Evan Cagle illustrated stuff that's happening in the present time with Big Barda and Mr. Miracle is certainly overwhelmingly, without a shadow of a doubt, the best parts of this story. Unfortunately, it's only about a third of the story, but it's the most intriguing, the most interesting thing going on there that really pulls you into the story. The other 2/3 are the parts that are illustrated by Riccardo Federici, and it is Ram V starting to be a bit pretentious. But the art is so good that I do think it kind of overcomes that. And the explanation of what this baby is and what it represents, the threat or perhaps hope that it represents, is necessary. I just don't think it needed to be that long. But I think the art overcomes it, and the part, with the Mr. Miracle, Big Barda stuff, elevates it enough to where I can still recommend it. But if we continue to get too much of the pretentious bullshit Ram V stuff, I am going to lose interest.
I'm glad you said all those points, because what you just said were points I was going to exactly say. So, yes, we agree. How about that? We don't disagree as much as you thought. I was prepared to say, you're going down a path I can't follow. But no, we agree here. Yeah, this issue, I was waiting for this shoe to drop with issue 1 with Ram V, in the beginning of time. And sure enough, yeah, we do get him. And smoke him if you got him. It's going to be a long night. Wake me when you get to the New Testament. But yeah, this is Ram's problem. You said it before. He gets very pretentious, gets focused on the history, and he forgets that it's not fun or engaging when he does it. It's boring, and most people, including me, don't care and don't want to read about it. It's a backstory that he could have done in a page or two. And like you said, the most engaging stuff was the Evan Cagle artwork stuff in the present. It is absolutely beautiful what he draws there with Mr. Miracle and Oberon and Big Barda and the baby. I really hope we get more of that. And if we do, I'll be recommending issue 4, absolutely. But if we get more in the past, it's going to be a long read, and I'll be quickly jumping off this series. But it's a weak not recommend. Barely a recommend. It's a coin flip. Really, go in, buyer beware.
I am on Ram V watch right now. I was like, come on, dude. Just pull it back, do the interesting part, and give me 3 pages of the bullshit. I can put up with that. 16 pages of the bullshit and only 8 pages of the good stuff is not the ratio that I'm looking for. But I'm still going to recommend it. I think the story is very interesting. Where they're moving is really kind of cool and new with New God. So I'm still enjoying it. I do want to say thank you very much to Drew. And you and I are going to be at Dallas Fan Expo. But you're not there just to see me. You've got big stuff popping off. In fact, you have a character from the 90s that's coming back at Dallas Fan Expo?
Yes, we do. At Dallas Fan Expo, we are bringing back a long-lost 90s character. I have contacted and I've made best friends with the creator of Arachnus, Michael Ortiz. We are working together. We are bringing back Arachnus. And we are going to be having a joint book of Unholy Nightmare and a preview edition of the new Arachnus series coming out. Michael's doing the awesome cover of Recluse versus Arachnus with Ginny tied up in the web. And Michael's doing the art on the interiors for the Arachnus 10-pager that I wrote. It was an absolute blast. Michael is an immensely talented artist. And we have Joe Corallo as the editor on the 10 pages and the ongoing series. Come on, you got me, Michael, Joe Corallo. You can't go wrong there. You got the trifecta. Do check this out, guys. If you're going to be at Dallas Fan Expo, do not miss out on this exclusive. It will be the hottest and the most beautiful book at Dallas Fan Expo.
If you like what we did here, but you want a lot more of it, we do have the Hot or Not podcast exclusive on Think Critical Patreon. There's a link in the video description. There's a little button right here. Jim and I talk about all the new releases, Marvel, DC, Indies in full. Plus, you also get access to the Doc Unfiltered podcast as well as the Doc Q&A, the Geek Fix with Aaron, and a whole lot more. Hope to see you there very, very soon.